It was on May 29, 1953 that people first managed to conquer Mount Everest. New Zealander Edmund Hillary and Nepalese Tenzin Norgay were able to reach the top of the world not only thanks to the experience of 9 previous expeditions, but due to the latest equipment. Tents for star climbers were designed by American Jerry Cunningham. 10 years before, in World War II, he fought as part of the 10th Mountain Division and experienced all the difficulties of climbing expeditions. After returning home to Denver, Jerry decided to develop his own line of mountain equipment, which would be as light as possible and would enable more supplies to be carried. After the success of the expedition to Everest, Jerry could only produce goods for climbers and beyond, but the businessman wanted to invent. So the first baby carrier appeared, without which it is difficult to imagine the life of modern parents. But Jerry Cunningham's main innovation was aimed at students. Then young people dragged huge stacks of textbooks to university. The first massive nylon drop backpack didn't just help them out, but spawned a fashion for urban backpacks. For more than a half a century, they remain one of the standard accessories not only for tourism, but also for life in the metropolis. Backpacks had not fundamentally changed since that time, until one Ukrainian startup offered an unexpected innovation. We produce customizable backpacks that can be controlled via the telephone. Our main goal, our main product, is a certain gadget, a certain backpack, the appearance of which can be controlled literally in a second with the help of your smartphone. Margarita, Rimek and Sergei Ezdin have already gone through 2 successful crowdfunding campaigns, raising several $100,000 for the manufacture of backpacks with LED screens. Apparently, they managed to guess what the residents of modern megapolises want in the age of social networks and the widespread penetration of mass culture. Our hypothesis was that since people like to share things that they love online, there will be people who will enjoy sharing their favorite things, music, characters, I don't know, their hobbies, offline. Roughly speaking, through a screen, which will always be with them. If this invention seems simple or obvious, don't rush to conclusions. We will be the first to tell you, how did young Ukrainians come to the concept of a product that is in demand in the world? What pitfalls awaited them on the road to mass production? And finally, what do these amazing pixel backpacks hide? Ukraine is a country of startups. In 2019, according to the ratings of the startup Blink portal, it occupied 31st place in the world, jumping immediately 29 positions in the space of 2 years. This has made Ukraine the fastest growing in the Eastern European region. Moreover, analysis took into account not only the quantity but also the quality of startups, as well as the ease of investing in the country. In 2018, $290 million was invested in Ukrainian startups. Interestingly, in a similar ranking of cities, Kyiv was 34th place in the world, mainly due to a favorable ecosystem for young businessmen in the high-tech sphere. The creators of the Pixel backpack gained their first experience right in this environment. I worked in another startup. I was not the founder, I worked for hire, but the guys also produced it in Ukraine and sold it to America. In fact, from the point of view that there were B2C sales of some kind of hardware product, here the examination converged. That is, neither tailoring backpacks nor electronics was ever something that I had done before. Before that, I also worked in marketing, in digital mainly, but managed to work in different areas. For us, it was primarily an experiment, a desire to try ourselves, to do something interesting, unusual. The first idea that Margarita and Sergei had for their own startup were not backpacks at all. They wanted to create a perfect pet collar with a GPS tracker that was not on the market a few years ago. The reason why we took up this is the very short battery life. Such a collar could work, roughly speaking, about 4 hours. And you cannot find your pet in the space of 4 hours. We added some things there, light and noise indicators. If you climb into the basement and you understand that it's somewhere here, but it's not clear where. We developed it for a long time, in the evenings, in our free time. And because we did this for a very long time, a very similar product already entered the market, very packed, beautiful. So we realized that, all right, we're late. But the first failure did not discourage them to create an innovative product. Since Margarita and Sergei had already developed an original energy-saving system for a GPS collar, they began to think where else it could be applied. We thought that it might be fun to make a backpack with GPS tracking. We started to think, but thought that this is not such a new idea as a whole. And as a result, we simply bought a backpack on the market for 100 hryvnias, cut a hole, inserted a regular screen there, a hard one, and it was just such an ordinary backpack with a small screen, and we liked the concept. We took it to the exhibition and realized that in general terms it's interesting. We saw some kind of first interest there, but we needed to understand how we could bring it to life, how technically difficult it would be, and how much it would cost. That was at the end of 2016. Soon the startup won a grant of all of $1,000 for initial development, but it took 2 years to bring the product to perfection and load the first batch of finished goods. Margarita, Rimek and Sergei Ezdin tell us what they had to do to organize the production chain, what technical compromises they agreed to make, and how this is all done. How this is all done. Since the days of Jerry Cunningham, backpack production has not changed in essence. New models appeared with compartments for modern gadgets, but in general the patterns remained typical. Margarita and Sergei had to create an original thing on this foundation, and they first tried to follow the path of least resistance. Since neither of us knew how to solder or assemble electronics and nobody had ever sewed anything, especially backpacks, for the first year we just did not know where to go. We bought a backpack in some super cheap store, cut out the entire top panel for it, looked for some rubber or something. We did not know how all of this can be done correctly. And of course, it turned out to be hellish. They were very scary, ugly, heavy. Margarita was looking for seamstresses through adverts, drove around neighboring towns and villages around Kiev, but the result did not satisfy her. The problem was solved by technologists who developed an original design, taking into account all the features and made a prototype himself. However, this model also had significant drawbacks. The screen was not inside, as it is now, not under the cloth, but it was outside. It was covered with special plastic, which in a certain way scatters the light beautifully, but since this is an extra part of the materials, it was very heavy. The backpack was heavy, the screen could not be bent, and these plastic pieces eventually fell out. It took a year of iterations to come to a seemingly simple idea: hide the screen under a special water-repellent fabric, and so protect it from bad weather, maintaining flexibility. It was initially planned to sew a battery for the front panel directly into the backpack, but this, the simplest solution, had to be abandoned in favor of a portable battery for gadgets. It is much more convenient to charge the power bank than to pull the cord to the backpack, put the backpack near a socket and think how to charge the backpack. That is, we decided that it'll be much better if the battery is removable, and to make it universal, we just adapted to it the USB output for an ordinary power bank. At least half of all logistics companies refuse to take goods if there is a battery in the product, because it can explode. It must be very clearly certified, and very few contractors can provide such a high-quality, qualified product in the form of a battery. As marketers, Margarita and Sergei reasoned that their target audience, active city dwellers, already has removable batteries for smartphones or tablets, so spending big resources and efforts to have their own batteries was simply pointless. In fact, a power bank with a charge of 10,000 mAh is enough for 6 to 8 hours of screen operation. It consists of miniature LEDs or light-emitting diodes. The LED consists of two semiconductors with different conductivity. When passing through them, electrons produce photons of a certain frequency. This effect was discovered at the beginning of the 20th century, but it was only in the 1960s that the first practical samples appeared. The remote control for a TV uses this technology. Only the light it emits is invisible to the human eye. LED-based lamps are good because they are lightweight, durable, and do not emit as much heat, and do not consume as much energy as traditional ones. China is the world's leading LED manufacturer, and it soon became apparent that Margarita and Sergei would have to build their production chain there. We found a bunch of different factories. Someone sews there, someone makes electronics. We wrote, requested prices, compared, sent patterns of our product, asked them to sew us a backpack. They sent us a total nightmare again. We went as a team to China. There were 4 of us back then. We went to the big Canton Fair exhibition. As a result, we found a company that sewed quickly, sewed well, listened to all our advice, and this is it. The final contractor sews and puts the panel inside. We have a person there who is a part of our team, and he controls all this. But the most important feature of the Pixel backpack is the ability to instantly change the image on the LED screen. For this, Ukrainian programmers developed an application for smartphones. In it, you can choose one of the basic animations or create your own picture or text. In the framework of the LED matrix, almost anything. You can even play 8-bit games on this backpack.
У вас есть телефон как джойстик и
You have a phone as a joystick and the backpack as a screen. Apart from games, there are also widgets. Widgets are all smart components like these. For example, they can show the time, timer, marquees, some forecasts there. According to Sergei's calculations, the very first backpack with an app and the final product that could be presented to the world are divided up between more than 15 iterations. In August 2018, the Ukrainian startup launched its final prototype immediately on 2 crowdfunding platforms, and in just a couple of months, it raised $340,000 from 1,100 backers from 50 countries around the globe. Such success was no surprise for Margarita, since by that time she knew very well exactly what they had managed to do. We did this all so that it came together very organically. We got hold of a comfortable urban backpack, stylish, lightweight, flexible one, and also a controlled screen. In fact, we were simply the first people who brought this all together organically. Thanks to carrying out thorough preparations for launching manufacturing, Margarita and Sergei managed to ship the first large batch of backpacks almost in time in January 2019. Naturally, they kept several of them for themselves. We often walk somewhere with it. In the evening, it looks very cool because it is clear that direct rays eat up a little brightness. And in the evening, especially twilight, it's simply the brightest spot on the street. A lot of customers write to us that they cannot go unnoticed at all with the backpack turned on. That is, people constantly come up to them, ask what it is, how it works. Just 2 months after the success of their crowdfunding campaign, even before the first backpacks got to their owners, a lot of cheap copies appeared in online stores. They look more like of the first prototypes of a Ukrainian startup. A hard screen is simply sewn into the backpack, and the image most often cannot be programmed. But for Margarita and Sergei, the important thing is that some 6 months after the new product was announced, constant demand for it appeared. So an innovative thing has become commonplace, just like Jerry Cunningham's first nylon backpacks. Now the Ukrainian startup is by popular demand working on a children's series. We added other functions to it. For example, there will be a function that if the child does not have a smartphone and our target is 8 to 12-year-old children, then in the morning the parent and the child are able to choose which animations and pictures can be shown during the day. At the present time, we have still not finally decided what this expansion will look like, so we will now complete it, deliver everything on time, gather the feedback and understand how we should proceed next. In any case, this will most likely not only be backpacks, but also something else. That was how a small Ukrainian startup where less than 10 people work has given people around the world a new way of expressing themselves. What innovative products will this team come up with in 5 years? Whatever the case, UATV will definitely tell you about them.